What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. And this time we're taking a look at Better Call Saul Season 3. And oh man, do I have a lot to say about Better Call Saul Season 3. Because right off the bat, out of all four seasons of Better Call Saul, Season 3 is my absolute favorite out of all four seasons right now. This season is outstanding. Basically, Season 3 is Chuck versus Jimmy. The two season build up to this to where we get with this season, to where we get with the show, is outstanding. Pretty much this picks up where that where that second season left off, with Chuck recording Jimmy with the tape, and of course Jimmy finding out through his friend Ernie exactly what happened, what Chuck did. That causes that is where the tension just cuts. The split happens. It is brother versus brother, Chuck versus Jimmy, and it's just great stuff. Michael McKean as Chuck in this season is outstanding. I love what they did with the character of Chuck. I love just how cold and manipulative they just made this man. And you can clearly tell that he has absolutely no care or love for his brother Jimmy. And he will take any measures he can just stick it to Jimmy for what Jimmy did to him. But on the flip side, you have Jimmy, who is just taking the beating after beating after beating after beating after beating, who you can tell he feels the betrayal of what Chuck did to him. He feels the hurt that Chuck gave him. And it's just completely well done. In the first season, Odenkirk and Keen had great chemistry as brothers, where you actually think they have a genuine love for one another. In season 2, when the tension started to build, the chemistry was still great. And now that they've become pretty much enemies, and enemies without brothers who were just fractured, it's great stuff. They do it perfectly, and I love the directions that this season takes. And I loved that we're getting one step closer to Jimmy McGill becoming Saul Goodman. And of course, the catalyst of it all was the betrayal of what Chuck did to him, getting him disbarred, you know, pretty much conning him into breaking into his house, so that way Chuck can just get the screws to Jimmy to make him lose his lawyer license. Outstanding, great stuff. In addition to that, I like the stuff they did with Kim as well. We see Kim take on the Mesa Verde case, and we also see her take on multiple other cases, which of course leads to her getting to a really big car accident in the penultimate episode of the season. We see the amount of strain and stress that Kim puts herself through. Not only that, she pretty much becomes a very important piece in the Jimmy versus Chuck angle, because she ends up representing Jimmy after Jimmy gets sent to jail because of Chuck. So her part in season 3 is outstanding, and it is perfectly in there. The stuff they did with Howard, it's pretty good. Was good as well. I like what they did with Howard. I like how this show pretty much tells you that Chuck is Palpatine and Howard is his Darth Vader. Chuck is the puppet master pulling all the strings. And again, I love the direction they take with Chuck, because when we get midway through the season, Chuck overcomes his condition to electromagnetism. But of course, that all goes away in the season finale, where he has a relapse after pretty much Howard forces Chuck to pretty much retire from HHM. This causes Chuck to have a relapse, which eventually leads to his death in the season finale, which was handled perfectly. It's probably the most intense 20 seconds of the entire season. And this season has a lot of great stuff. A lot of the things I like about this season as well. I love what they did with Mike. Pretty much, this season introduces Mike into the world that he'll be in with Breaking Bad. We see Mike's first interactions with Gus, who makes his return in Better Call Saul season 3, and it's always a joy seeing Giancarlo Esposito. And we see the origins of Gus pretty much in this season. We see Gus and Lydia discover the laundromat, which will eventually become the super lab in Breaking Bad. We see Gus have his first interactions with Jimmy and Mike, which will eventually lead to the relationship that the four of them will have in Breaking Bad as well. So a lot of good things, a lot of very important pieces are getting placed up in season 3. I love the stuff they did with Nacho in this season, where he has a rivalry with Hector Salamanca. Pretty much Hector wants to move in on Nacho's dad's businesses and kind of use it as a front. And Nacho's like, whoa, we can't have, he ain't gonna have that. You know, you're kind of you're making it personal by pretty much threatening Nacho's family, and Nacho, and it's also revealed that it was Nacho who pretty much, so in a really grand scheme, Nacho decides to replace Hector's pills that he's been taking for his heart condition, and he replaces it with ibuprofen. And at the season finale, when Hector has a stroke, heart attack, of course the pills don't work because Nacho flipped them. And of course, that scene where Nacho is, changing the pills, again, such intense stuff. That entire scene is great. Really well directed, really well handled, and beautifully acted by Michael Mondo, who does a picture perfect job as Nacho. I really love the character of Nacho, and Michael Mondo's performance really stands out. He's just so good in the role. He fits it like a glove. I really wish Nacho as a character was in Breaking Bad itself beforehand, but because after seeing him in Better Call Saul, why not wish this character was in Breaking Bad? He's so good. Not only that, his character is actually he has a really important character to himself too. He's the one who has the first interactions with Saul and with Mike. He's the one who pretty much gave Hector the problems he has at the beginning when we see him in Breaking Bad. Nacho is an important pivotal character in this universe. And I love it. Love it. Yeah, of course. And finally, the creme de la creme. Season 3 is where we first see Jimmy take on the persona of Saul Goodman. So pretty much, Jimmy is put on a 1-year suspension from practicing law. So, and not only that, he still has a lot of commercials that need to get filled in because he bought the airtime. So, what Jimmy ends up doing is that he ends up making a commercial for commercials, and he develops the Saul Goodman persona, this high energy, over the top flamboyant character that Kim says, this guy has a lot of energy. And yeah, you're right. We see the origins of Saul Goodman and what he will eventually become when Saul Goodman becomes the lawyer. Great stuff. Perfect stuff. I love it so much. So good. And of course, we also see Jimmy pretty much abandon his practice in elder law at the conclusion of this season, because when we see Saul in Breaking Bad, he's a criminal lawyer. So this season we see him pretty much abandon his elder law by pretty much doing some shady tactics in order to get out of that profession. Since he's still on suspension, he can't really help them anymore, and he does it all to make sure that the elders pretty much keep this settlement going on that they have with Davis and Maine and HHM. And Jimmy, of course, does what he has to do to pretty much break the trust that he developed with his clients throughout the first 2 seasons leading up to this. So it's heartbreaking because you could tell Jimmy didn't want to do it, but he had to do it. So and it all shapes up perfectly to what's to come with Breaking Bad as well. So yeah, there's obviously a lot more I can say about Better Call Saul season 3, but those are just my thoughts. Overall, this is a perfect season. This is my favorite season. So many good things happen in this season, and there are so many good things I didn't even get a chance to even talk about yet. Those are just my broad general thoughts. So yes, a perfect 10 for season 3 of Better Call Saul. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.